Welcome back to Humble Running. Another run on tap today with a few different things in for test. I'll be primarily focusing on the new Endurance 3 from Craft. I've also got probably more appropriate testing conditions for this Hypervent light wind jacket, also from Craft. No rain today, as in my Cloud Soma video, but bright sunshine and a little bit cool in the 40s here. I did want to seek out some softer surface, flat running conditions to test this shoe out here for a couple of reasons. The first of which is I'm a little bit behind on my weekly mileage, so I'm gonna have to backload a little bit at the end of this week here, and I want to get a little bit of flatness in the mix. Soft surface, a little bit less elevation gain to pile on. Also, Craft does build the Endurance 3 as a shoe designed for tackling various terrains and conditions. So let's start right there. Is this a road shoe? Is this a trail shoe? Is this a gravel shoe? What are we talking about here? Let's start in reverse order here compared to what I typically do. Let's start with the outsole. You have a highly durable carbon rubber outsole here. Craft's own formulation, not the Victoria rubber as you see in some of their trail and gravel outsoles. You've got full coverage in all of the impact areas underfoot, but no lugs. You do have a few cutouts under the forefoot area where you can see through to the PX foam underfoot. That may give you a little bit of traction in sort of sandy terrain or loose cinder. You would of course want to be careful running on sharp stuff. You wouldn't want to poke that or gouge that under the forefoot, but it's really no different than any other trail shoes that do have areas of exposed midsole underfoot. But the outsole itself will certainly be smooth on the road, smooth on harder packed surfaces. Also, again, up to light gravel, cinder, maybe up to moderate type of gravel, and even a little bit of trail terrain. I don't think this is going to be a shoe you're going to take out on your typical trail running days for sure, and that's due to the 9mm drop that you have here. Certainly leaning into more runnable, forward-leaning, kind of straight-ahead running. I did measure 37mm at the heel, so that puts me at 37 28mm full stack based on their 9mm spec drop. Actual spec is 38-29, so pretty much right on target there with my measurement. The 9mm drop is absolutely noticeable. Heel feels elevated, but it does feel like a smooth and gradual drop off to the forefoot. There's no pronounced shape under the arch, no arch pressure at all. I lace these up pretty normally. Of course, Craft has fixed their upper design in recent models, so you don't have that overabundance of material all around. Lace throat, lace width as I tie them up. Just right here, no lace locking necessary. Just lace them up and go. They do note a slim and secure heel as part of their design here. That does seem to agree with me. I more often than not notice overly voluminous heel cup areas. So this one is just fine for me. Again, regular lacing, no lace locking, zero heel slip here. Nice padding all around. Super comfortable all around the lower ankle, heel, and Achilles area here. Quick little feature on this Hypervent jacket here. I like the zipper. Small thing, but there's a little bit of tension to it. So when I put it down, it doesn't flop around at all, making any type of rattling noises. That can be annoying on the run. Certainly more so for me because I'm doing a lot of filming and I hear that ticking in the video. Also, those kind of sounds are just annoying for anyone, I think, though. I typically don't favor high drop shoes. Anything in the range of 8 to 10 tends to not agree with me, but I do find this one feels kind of smooth. I certainly want to reserve it for road running, flatter running primarily. I don't want to be going too much downhill on uneven surfaces on trails in a drop this high. I did take them out for a quick trail loop the other day. Lower Holes Gulch can get a little rocky and uneven in certain spots. Just wanted to feel them out, and I did feel like that 9mm drop was noticeable. Heel elevation on trails definitely more prominent, of course, than here on the flats. Weight here is an even 10 ounces, 284 grams in my US 10 EU 43.5. I do recommend a half size up across the board for craft. They tend to have more tapered, I would call it Euro style toe boxes. They've also been known to have quite big toe rockers up front, so I generally run a US 10 in craft, and this is just perfect for me. I am running in a thinner sock with these, Sidus Run Anatomic here, for this type of terrain and conditions. Flat running, road running for sure. I always like to run a thin sock if I can, if I don't need to fill up any extra volume or space within the shoe. I'd say it's probably a regular or medium volume shoe overall here. Not feeling squeezed at any point here. Certainly at a half size up, which I do recommend. If you have a narrow or medium width or volume foot, these will certainly work well. If you do have a wide foot, this one may be a little bit snug. Craft in general, outside of maybe a couple of their trail models, Nordlite Ultra Pro is kind of wide at the forefoot. Also, of course, the Explore Pro. But generally speaking, their road shoes are kind of on the narrow side. Turn around here, hit a bit of a headwind. Shell is working well now. I was actually feeling a little bit warm with the tailwind behind me, considering if I should have worn it at all. Took my gloves off. Now, after I turn around, feeling cool. Might need the gloves if it keeps up, but this is definitely cutting the wind, so very nice. Perfect conditions for these, probably around 45-ish, a little bit more with the solar gain, but again, cool breeze. Ride of the Endurance 3 here. Certainly feels like it leans more towards your daily miles, everyday training type of shoe. Kind of bopping along here around about 8:15 pace here. Kind of where I want to be. Out here for an easy day. It's going to be a 7-mile loop here, and I'll probably go out for another one. Be in the range of 15 here, and just cruising along in this shoe. For me, at least, the 9mm drop makes it want to lean towards easy and say quicker than easy day paces. With the 9mm drop, I want to feel comfortable with a forward lean. Anything where I'm running kind of slower or at a recovery type pace, then for me personally, I think I'd find the 9mm a little bit obtrusive. Probably look for a flatter drop, not totally flat, but say even 6mm for slower paces, so you could even out that cushion, flatter foot landings, maybe not going as fast. The 9mm here does seem to want to keep me engaged. It's hinting at me to lean a bit forward and maybe turn over the legs a bit quicker. So I find that good for this kind of easy-ish pace today. And if I were to pick it up, for sure it would still feel comfortable. Foam is Craft's PX foam, which is 100% ETPU. You've got those expanded beads there. A little hard to see with the orange color. Easier to pick out when it's a white foam, but definitely the beaded setup here. Midsole feel, I'd say, is moderately soft, moderately energetic, with not too much bounce here. It doesn't feel as airy as some other TPU type foams. That's why it doesn't feel as bouncy. Has a bit more density to it probably, and also a tiny bit more weight, I would say. It is a 10-ounce shoe, which is nice if you compare it to trail training shoes, but it is high for a road shoe. Again, on the other hand, you've got that durable, almost full coverage rubber, full coverage under the impact areas again, and it does seem to be a little bit on the thicker side. So that's going to contribute to the weight, on top of the foam itself, which I don't think is one of the lightest formulations. One thing it does have going for it, though, is consistent feel underfoot. Some of their softer foams, like the CR varieties, CR foam in the Nordlite Ultra 2, and certainly CR Foam Pro in the Nordlite Ultra Pro, those do feel softer, more energetic, but a little bit more squish underfoot, a little less stability. These have more of a firmness and more of a stable, grounded feel on foot strike than those foams. that consistency of feel underfoot is certainly going to be a positive once you get into longer runs. Not going to squish out under the balls of the foot, feel thin towards the end of your run. Actually go out for a little bit of a refresher run in the Nordlite Ultra Pro yesterday. Again, that is CR Foam Pro supercritical nitrogen infused EVA with 25% PIBA mixed in. Definitely has a softer feel underfoot. Definitely a more flexible shoe, which I like on the trails. Again, I raced that one in the Mammoth 50K and it was great. Definitely a more adaptable ride underfoot with that one. Probably not as protective though. It is a higher stack though. I've got it measured at 40 under the heel, but with the foam being softer, it feels more contoury, especially for me under the forefoot. Not that I would want to take this one out on trails due to the 9mm drop, but of course the lack of outsole, but also due to the stiffness of the shoe. I like a little bit of flexibility out on the trails. This one has that tension to it, which is more applicable to steadier, flat ground running, even faster running, road running. Come to think of it, I don't believe I actually have a 9mm drop or higher shoe in my shoe quiver right now. If I test those type of shoes, sometimes they're okay, but generally end up not agreeing with me. End up giving them away, but I think this Endurance 3 is gonna be a different story. I do need to start mixing in some more flatter miles into my training, just for recovery's sake, also variation. It's easier to run steadier when you're not constantly going up and down. Endurance 3 here feels like perfect addition to my rotation for everything that you've seen out here today. Quick look at the upper here. Craft shape here, a little bit tapered, but actually not as pointy as some Craft models that I have noted in the past. A little bit rounded here. Again, I'm a half size up, US 10 here. Just a perfect fit for me. You can see my lacing here. Decent tension, lace throat, nice width here, not overly squeezed, no bunching here, no lace locking. Just a simple knot here, works perfectly. The tongue is very well padded here. I like that even, consistent padding throughout the tongue. Taking a quick look around the heel there. Very well padded all around the ankle here. I guess they say it's a little bit slim inside here. They have this swoop collar here, but it's nice and thick and padded here. You have this endurance kind of TPU element around here that gives it some structure to the heel, probably makes it a little bit more unstable than I would like on trails. I'd like a little bit more looseness here, but this does give the counter some structure here. Semi-rigid. Taking a look at the outsole here, you can see pretty full coverage in the impact areas. You do have these cutouts here, so if you were running in very sharp type of stuff, you wouldn't have anything slicing through there. Certainly capable on the roads with the smoothness of it, but there is, you know, these little indentations here do give a little bit of grip on sandy surfaces that I have been running on, especially today, and also a little bit on trails. Again, a lot of exposed stuff in the midsole here. You don't want to be going through overly sharp terrain in these for sure, but definitely smooth where it needs to be. Roads, light trails, dirt, gravel. Take a look at the flex. Very flexible shoe. Not as much twisting in the middle. Again, you have the 9mm drop. A little bit more tension around the middle here. It's more of a road style tension, not a trail type of flexibility that I typically like. But up front, nice and even flex. Not a crazy rocker, I find. Just nice and smooth. Very smooth ride. Again, I feel like the 9 is pretty steady from the heel down to the forefoot, and then rounds into the smooth toe off here. So not as steep feeling, not as sharp feeling as some 9mm drops, and also not any protrusion around the middle of the foot. I did swap the insole. If you notice, it comes with one of their kind of typical Craft Ortholite insoles, which I'm never a huge fan of. This is just one from Fuga, kind of a supercritical E1, soft-ish, but it just fits in the shoe. So it's about the same volume as the Ortholite one in there. I prefer the feel of this versus the softer Ortholite underfoot, especially if I'm going to be out in rain or anything like that. Again, don't want the Ortholite soaking up stuff. Nordlite Ultra Pro here, similar burnt orange colorways, by the way. Also swapped the insole out on this one. Nothing particular about this shoe. As you know, just don't like Ortholite. So this is actually nice Long Sky 2 insole sheet TPU here. Really like the feel of this one. So a little bit more width in the Nordlite Ultra Pro, but a little bit more taper. It could also be, it feels like a steeper rocker, at least at the very front. So combination of that makes this feel wider at the forefoot, but a little snugger up here. It's probably maybe that I'm just not putting it into as offset foot conditions as I am in this one, that I maybe don't notice it in the front of the toe box here. But this one does feel comfortable, smooth, steady, flat running. I perhaps don't notice my big toe touching the edge as much as I do in the Nordlite Ultra Pro, which has not been an issue for me. Again, I raced 50K in this one and it was quite comfortable. CR Foam Pro here does feel softer, does feel more energetic, whereas this one feels a little bit stiffer, a little bit more tension to the foam itself. You could see as I kind of twist it, this one, it's just looser, very kind of flexible. And this surprised me when I got out on trails in this run. I thought this would be more of a stiffer gravel type ride, and I was surprised how much trail range it does have, because I do prefer this flexible shoe. But you could see how this one, the contouring of it underfoot, I like that out on trails, but this will give you a more, you don't have as much as that. Definitely they have this groove here, so I think that helps with landing, to kind of even out the landing as you land on this lateral edge here, but not that kind of flex that you have adapting to terrain as you would in this of a more trail oriented shoe. This one gives you that more steady feel on something like this, the road or harder surfaces. So that was 7.3 miles. I've got time for one more loop, probably another full loop, so be another 7.3 in the Endurance 3. It has warmed up a bit, but I am going to keep the hypervent jacket on. With the headwind on the way back, it was a little bit cooler and it does still feel comfortable, even if it does warm up a little bit. Have you noticed my Tifosi Sanctum SL shades yet? Got the blackout version here. I have the regular Sanctums. Those are the ones they originally came out. They have a rim at the bottom. I found that those would like slip around on my nose a little bit. I've also got the translucent frame in those with the blue lens. They look a little bit, I would say, aggressive. Black here looks a little bit more discreet, but still something cool and nice looking. But without the rim on the bottom, they seem to like just sit on my face better for some reason. They don't move around at all. I looked at the nose pieces between this one and the regular Sanctum. Padding, no slip silicone grip was exactly the same, but for whatever reason, this one just doesn't move at all. It must be due to the weight balance without the lower rim. I don't really know, can't explain it, but I'm liking this one better. It's so cool to be testing out Tifosi shades these days because the price point is just so accessible. These are $40 and it is a high quality shade. I remember before I was doing reviews and all that stuff, running shops would always have Tifosi glasses. They'd kind of be even up front at some big box retailers. And I always used to buy them, or at least have a pair in rotation back in the day. They've definitely upped the style factor too since those first few pairs that I've had. So if you're not one to spend ridiculous amounts of money on high-end shades, there's a place for that. But if you do want to look in the more reasonable end of the price spectrum, Tifosi is definitely one to check out. $40 here. I mean, you can't beat this. Just even have an extra pair in the car. I have the gold ones, which my wife doesn't like. I think they're cool. But anyway, I leave them in the car just in case I forget my sunglasses. So maybe you'll see those in another video. I do also have the Nathan Aero Zip 1 liter in for test here. Just starting my initial testing on this one. 1 liter vest, 2 500 ml flask, zip straight up the middle here. So more to come on this one. It's nice for kind of roadish, flattish run like this. Also Nice to kind of fit easily under a wind shell on a cool day. At about 11 miles here, actually running a little bit quicker in this part 2 of my run here. Feeling good, of course, on the run. Gonna do a little bit of steady state on the back quarter, let's say, of the session here. Not quite interval level, just try to move quick, probably about 20 minutes or so. See how they feel for that. Just started out here, a couple minutes in, settling into about 650 pace here. Heart rate just shy of 160. For reference, I ran the marathon in the fall between 175 to 180. Of course, that was on the road. Detecting a little bit of slippiness here, sometimes with the rocks and the flatter outsole, but generally speaking, okay here for running quicker. Also running a little bit into the headwind here, which is good, keeping me in check impact-wise. Also upping the power level a little bit, which is fine for me. Endurance 3 feeling very good as I suspected. Picking the pace up here, at least into steady state zone. Probably not as poppy as I would like for a speed shoe, of course. The shoe is called Endurance, not Speed. But the 9mm drop is really getting me into that forward lean, keeping me going pretty quick and efficiently here. Still 653 pace, decent heart rate, 163 right now as I'm talking. Just passed under the bridge again, tiny section of concrete as I'm going faster here. Does feel like it could be a bit firm for pure road running. Been testing a lot of softer type of training shoes, more bouncy, more energetic. Gonna be a firmer ride here, probably better or more well suited to the dirt you're looking at now versus hard road, certainly hard concrete. But of course that also comes down to runner preference. If you're someone that doesn't like the high stack, bouncy, energetic rides of the majority of shoes out today, if you like that firmer feel, even on harder surfaces, this could be right up your alley. For now, once again, thank you for tuning in. Check out the website, of course. Sign up for the newsletter, www.humblerunning.com. Links to the Endurance 3 in the description below. Links to other related videos and content as well. So check those out if you have some time. Thank you for watching. I'll see you out on the trails or somewhere around here in the next one.